On SADTU, the Secretary General Mugwena Maluleke is here, and we also have COSAS President John Macheke. Good afternoon to both of you. Thank you so much for coming through. And John, I want to start with you really, because I think months back we had you in studio. We were discussing the same issues, the same problem. You talked about conferences and meetings that were taking place to look into this issue. So how far have we come since then?
We just need implementation. I think it's a right time now to form a steering committee that will be able to monitor the implementation of all the decisions we have taken in different safety summit committees.
What are those decisions? Maybe that's where we need to start, because I was speaking to Elijah a short while ago, and I was saying, do we even know what and where the problem is before we can try to come up with solutions and plans?
One, we have to look on our leaders that are leading certain departments. For example, in the Northwest, we just had an MEC of Education, Selala Hare. Now is an MEC of Safety and Security. The very same individual, he could not even implement safety in Bukonibu Prima in all of our schools. So it's very embarrassing to have such a circumstance.
Is it really about individuals, John? Is the problem not within the young people in school?
The problem is within our own communities. Remember, the violence that is displayed in our own schools is the violence that is displayed in our own communities. Now, we have spoken about community impeachers, engaging with different community members, coming up with a solution of combining each and every individual that is there in our communities, doctors, motivational speakers, everyone to come and speak about violence in our own communities, so we can be able to fight this violence. If we fight this violence in our own communities, we'll not have violence in our own schools.
I'm going to come back to you to talk about the plans and the solutions that were taken during your conferences. But talking about conferences in Maluleke, I do know that SADTU has called for more intensive summits to look into this issue.
Yeah. Well, what we are saying basically it is that we have, as the role players in education, we have spoken. But have we really spoken to the right people? Because the right people are parents in our communities who are around the schools, who see what is happening every day, who see their children living in the morning, going to school, and some of them not being able to come back because they've been attacked. And these are the right people that we are supposed to be talking to. And that's why we're saying let's extend that to the parents, because we as a country, we need a solution that will be owned by everyone. So as we say we extend this particular summit, we are saying in those particular summits, what are we going to do? We are saying as a practical step for everyone is to love your own children, is to love your own neighborhood, and making sure that where there's drugs, you take action, you inform the police, and so that they are then able to investigate. Where you see learners who are loitering the streets, not going to school, you've got to report that immediately to the head of the school as well as the district, so that action is taken, because the law is there, but we are not implementing.
That is what many people are saying, that we have beautiful policies in our country, but the implementation of those policies is a huge challenge. Some people are tired now because they say there's a lot of talking that's been done, lots of conferences and summits. So it is time for action now.
Yeah, it's time for action, but without talking, we'll not be able to see that action, because to change the mindset of our people, to love the school, to love education, not ban a school when you want a tart road, not ban a school when you want a house. That is sending a message to a child to then say, no, look, when you have problems, the only way to solve that particular problem is to do what? Is to be violent. So we are saying, whilst we are talking, there must be action. Our action is very simple. We are going to the communities and say to the communities, who are the nurses here? Who are the retired psychologists? Who are the retired social workers here? Please go to the school on Monday, partner with the teachers, identify the learners who have got some problems, whether the problems are coming from the home or the problems are developed because of the manner in which I teach and ostracize the children or any other thing. Identify them. Let's help this particular children, because we can prevent it. It's not that violence cannot be prevented. We can prevent it. We can come up with proactive measures, and that's why we're saying, if you are a doctor or a psychiatrist, you have retired, why are you not partnering with the school and say, I am a fan of this particular school, and therefore on Monday I'm going to talk to the principal. I am going to ensure that the teachers are given some basics in identifying learners who might have been troubled, and so that we help them. So we are going for action now.
So if I hear you, we need that societal approach.
Yep.
What conversations are you having with your peers, John? Do you ever go to schools to have these meetings with the young people in schools?
Yes, indeed. We go to school and engage with different learners in our own different schools. But the problem that we are having, we also come up with solutions, but those solutions are not being implemented. Remember, security is not a security personnel that stands on the gate. Security are many things. For an example, when I entered this building, there was a scanner there that searches me whether I have a weapon or whether I'm carrying a weapon or I'm not carrying a weapon. In a school where we have more than 1,000 learners, where we have more than 1,000 lives, there are no such things in our own school. So learners can easily come up with weapons because even in their own communities, their parents, their brothers are gangsters. So they are even recruited into gangsterism. So we're having a challenge that most of these problems that we have in our own schools start in our own community. So what are we doing as a community? What are we doing as people? We must never forget that it takes a community to raise a learner or to raise a child.
Maybe the question is, what are you doing as a representative of the young people? You're representing the learners there in school. We've seen COSAS very vocal previously, promising to be harsh if certain things that you wanted were not achieved. But we've never seen a march where you guys are marching to say violence in school is a problem now. We want our solutions to be implemented. And a lot of people are thinking that you guys are just sitting there and doing nothing.
For an example, yes, we marched last year, we marched to Little House, we marched to the Union Building. For an example, if we speak to the MEC of Education, as I've just said, in Northwest, we confront the MEC of Education, which was Selol Hara. We say we want safety in Northwest. Because remember, many of these incidents started in Bukonibu Pirim. Now, when we're about to reach a point where we're about to win and get safety in our own schools, they will reshuffle the MEC and take him to another department. As we speak, is in road and safety. You've moved from education to road safety. The very same MEC is incompetent. The very same MEC is not deliberate. The
but
very
why
same
are you
MEC
only
is not
focusing
making sure
on the Northwest province? We've got the same problems here in Gauteng, same problems in other provinces. In KwaZulu-Natal, a teacher was shot just last week. Why is your focus only on Bukonibu Pirim?
I'm not only focusing on Northwest. I'm just giving an example by Northwest. In KZN also, we must never forget that it takes a government to implement the decisions. We as an organization, we just guide the government. We are not controlling the government. We are not in the government. As a student movement organization, we give solutions to the government. What is the government? The government is the Department of Education. Now, if the Department of Education is not listening to us, what must we do? We will resolve to that thing of 1976 where learners took it from their own hands, went to the street and fought against the government. But now it's different. We must never forget that during that time it was an apartheid government. Now it's not an apartheid government. I'm here, I'm able to sit with the GS of SADTU. We're able to engage on solutions that we can take in resolving this violence in our own schools. But is our government ready to implement the decisions that we take in different summits? Our government is not ready. We've been speaking, we've been shouting, we've been loud telling, we've been sitting in many meetings. But even one school, if we can check in all provinces, there's not even a single program of safety that have been implemented in our own different provinces.
All right. So do you not think that you have failed as an organization to safeguard the interests of learners in schools?
As an organization, we have not yet failed. Remember, the struggle doesn't stop. The struggle continues. So they just reappointed the very same Minister of Education who was leading the Department of Education. Now, we have already said with the Department of Education, we spoke to her, we spoke to the President. The President promised us that all the things that we have resolved on the safety summit will be implemented. We're just waiting to see that those things will be implemented. If they are not being implemented, we'll take it to the street. We have already marched. Remember, we submitted a memorandum even today to show that most of our government officials doesn't have interest at heart of young people. They have not yet responded to our memorandum. So
and what are you doing about that? Had you not given them some time frames to respond?
We have given them some time frame, but they are not following those time frames. As an organization, we're busy mobilizing, we're busy speaking to our own learners, saying enough is enough.
Do you think COSAS is just a toothless body?
No, COSAS is not a toothless body.
But you're not biting. You give out a memorandum of demands, the time frames goes by, and nothing happens.
As I've said, remember, if GS of SADTU, Mr. Mugwena, is the Minister of Education, tomorrow me, I will be engaging with GS of SADTU. Tomorrow they remove GS of SADTU, they put another person. Now that new person will say, now it's the new administration.
Minister Njimutsaga has been retained as the Basic Education Minister. Let me just quickly come to you. What engagements are you having with the Department of Basic Education? Because the reality is your members, the teachers, really, they always have the sense of fear when they go to school. Things are not as they used to be.
No, the engagement we have clearly is how do we best improve the security in our schools, and then we are looking forward to ensuring that all our schools have got security personnel, but all our schools have got fences and so forth. That's why we have said we are going to monitor it in 6 months to see that in terms of infrastructure improvement, how is the infrastructure also contributing towards this violence in our schools. And we have said that there is no more tolerance, because as you are saying, the minister can't say I'm learning. She's not new, she has been there. So therefore we cannot say expect 5 years of non-delivery. So in 6 months' time, we are monitoring how are we dealing with improving the infrastructure to ensure that there is security for our teachers. Secondly, we are saying it's important that the department will move with speed to then recalculate the life orientation, because we believe that we need to ensure that the teachers are equipped with skills where they can build resilience in our learners, in our children, because then they can be able to resist bullying and be able to again accept themselves and be able to deal with that and with bullying, because sometimes it happens and then the teachers or the learner find himself in a situation where you lose a life or you are injured and so forth. So the other engagement we are having clearly, it is the improvement of communication between the parents and their own children and the teachers. That line is something that we see, it is blurred, it's grey, because you call the parents and say, we have identified a problem here. This learner,
they never interested in
and
coming.
They have an
We
interest.
are going to have the SGB later on after this particular interview. Would love to hear from them. But are you worried as the General Secretary of SADTU that this teaching profession may be at risk? It may be a bit difficult to attract more teachers into this profession.
Well, we're worried. It's already not being able to attract good teachers into the system, because clearly it's the young people who are leaving the system. It's the young people who come and work for 3 years, pay my bursary, and then I look for greener pastures. I can't stay because I'm not able to discipline the learners in the classroom. So yes, indeed, we are worried, and that's why we have come up with our campaign of saying, I'm a school fan. We are mobilizing every person. We're mobilizing all the conscious to then say, if we are to deal with a mindset, it is not going to take one individual. It is going to be a collective that we do that. And we are worried that the teachers can't go into the classroom and feeling that I may not come back home. They have to feel safe. But there's only one thing we can do. If we are to solve the problem for once and for all, it's going to be through education. It's going to be rooting out the cause of the violence in our own families, in our own society. And once we have really rooted it out there, then we can say we're building a new nation where the people will respect life. Because the dignity that was really invaded, sacrificed and compromised is where people sometimes feel that, no, look, we have got problems and people don't treat us as human beings, and they start reacting in that particular negative way. And that are the things that you cannot solve them in one day, but we can be able to build strong, proactive intervention strategies. And I believe in it because I know you can prevent violence.
All right, so there is hope at the end of the day. Your parting shot, really, what do you think is that particular different approach that is needed to curb violence in schools?
I think us as Congress of South African Students working with SADTU and other organizations, we can be able to root out this violence that is there in our own schools. We must root out our own roadmap of making sure that we implement this safety in our own different schools, in our own different country.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for coming through, and happy Youth Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you.
And happy birthday to me again.
And happy birthday. Oh, I didn't know it's your birthday. Happy birthday. All right, well, there you have it. That's the General Secretary of SADTU. That's the Teachers Union, Mugwena Maluleke. We also had the President of COSAS, John Macheke. And really, I think the overall message from this conversation, and the one that I had with the spokesperson of the Basic Education, Elijah Mhlongo, is that this is a societal problem that needs that societal approach. Everyone has to come on board. Date Maluleke basically saying that the parents must start taking responsibility. So after this quick break, we'll speak to the SGB. They're representing the parents. We'll hear their side of the story. Stay with us.